Good day, and welcome to the Budding Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Bridges. In each episode, I cover my experiences, both good and bad, of being a business builder, as well as my journey through the crazy world of entrepreneurship to reach my goal of earning $10 million a year. All right, and welcome to episode 144 of the podcast. Today is April the 19th, 2024. Puts us in the third week of the month, so we're starting to turn into the new topics next week. We'll be going that way, wrapping up the end of what's happening with this topic we've been working on for the month of April, which is the customer journey mapping, and I'll get into that a little bit. Right now, talking about the books, Selling You by Napoleon Hill. Again, it is a collaboration from a group of people that are taking pieces from various places and putting them into a single volume. So I'm working through it a little bit slowly, just kind of taking my time. The New Model of Selling by Jerry Acuff and Jeremy Miner. I'm also working on the NEPQ Black Book of Questions. I'm also going back into Alex Hormozi's $100 million leads and $100 million offers to kind of tighten up what I've been working on. I still have my legal target market, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into it so I can have a much cleaner way of working with people, and you can always expand later. So I'm going to go into the family law side of things. It's the one part of law that I have experience in and dealing with. Very basic, very simple. It's pretty consistent state to state to state. I'm going to dive a little deeper in there, dig into more of my offer, and then start peeling those leads out and start looking a little bit narrower. I talked with my mentor yesterday, and he kind of agreed that there's a good way of going about digging into just a tighter niche so that you get very clear on exactly what you're saying. And that's why, again, going back into the $100 million offers gives me a real nice way to kind of structure everything as I go. This week, we're going to have a single quote from George Burns, the comedian. George Burns said, "I'd rather be a failure at something I love than a success at something I don't." And that's very relevant to us. We have to make sure that we're doing the things that we love, making sure that we understand our why, that it's clear, and that we know what's happening with things, and do it in a way that gets us up early and puts us to bed late. Turning into our business strategy section, we're continuing with customer journey mapping. Last week and the week before, we went through the definition and purpose of customer journey mapping, the different components of a customer journey map, and you'll see that today, the benefits of doing it, the process of achieving it, and then we talked about some examples last week of what was happening that different people had mapped out with their customer journey. They were all very unique. They were all a little bit different. And that's kind of the way that it is with a customer journey map, is as your business is different from others, it's also going to be similar to others. So we're going to break down this process. Today's going to be building your customer journey map. This week and next week, we're going to actually do a process of two businesses. Today's going to be a grocery store, and next week is going to be a small law firm. So we're going to dig into that, designing your customer journey map. If you're on Facebook, you see the pictures that go with this. If you don't have them, just contact us, rb@randybridgesconsulting.com, and I'll make sure that our team gets these images over to you, because this is important as we're going through this. You'll see it as we progress through this. There are 4 phases that I recommend that you go through on a customer journey map, and in this case, we're going to be doing all of them. The first phase is prep and research. Second, map and analysis. Third, solution development. And fourth is implementation and monitoring. Now, if we dig in with our imaginary grocery store, right? One of the first things that you want to do in this is you want to explain what goals you have. So in the case of a grocery store, perhaps they're going to want to reduce checkout time, and they're also going to want to improve product visibility. These are all going to affect how we go through this journey, and where we're looking for our information is based on goals. We're also going to want to develop some personas. We want some demographics, right? Age, sex, have children, not have children. Preferences, what the preferences are of the people that we're going to be dealing with, and what kind of behaviors we expect them to elicit. And if we've been doing our business for a while, we probably understand all three of those quite well. And you want to have more than one, by the way, if you can help it. If you're especially a very culturally diverse area, you're going to want to have different types of personas. What we're going to gather in this, and this is part of our research, is we're going to want to gather the needs of our personas. We're going to want to gather the pain points, the areas of satisfaction, and where the customer interactions need to occur in our imaginary store here. That's very important, because when you're looking at customer interactions, you want to make sure customer service is far away in case somebody gets upset, or also, people want to have a little bit of space if they're having an issue. Maybe they've, bounced a check or whatever, and they don't want to have it just publicly dropped out there. So you want your customer service area to be away and somewhat segmented off. That's pretty common if you go into a typical store, but you might not have thought about that when it comes to how you do things. And in an office, you've got the same situation. You want to make sure every room has a door on it, even if certain things are being monitored along the way. You have different types of cameras and things that can go in, because let's face it, you have to make sure everybody is happy and protected at the same time. When we're gathering all this, we're going to do it for the different personas with these goals to be our end result that we're going to have. When we move into the map and analysis phase, now we're going to want to look at the different touch points that our demographic, if you will, is going to deal with. We're going to have entry and exit points. Okay, you want to have a way, COVID kind of taught us that you definitely want to have a different in and an out. There were a lot of stores like Walmart that I went into that you could only go in one side of the store and you can only go out the other side. And then all of this analysis of how people were moving through the store. You probably all remember arrows on the floor, and it was kind of crazy. But because Walmart had taken the time to manage their entry and exit points, they could easily know what direction to put things. They had customer flow. They knew how customers generally walk through the store. You also want to make sure that touch points are on displays. Displays actually give you the ability to highlight whatever it is that you're talking about, or if you've got maybe specials going on, right? You want them to be in a place where it's highly trafficked, and you want to make sure it's easy for people to stop in front of the display and not impede the traffic that's going around them. And also, checkout flow is another touch point that gets a lot of attention in the bigger stores. You'll have self-serve now. That's very common. The whole do it on your own is kept separate from the regular checkouts. Why is that? Well, you don't want to blend the type of customers that are do-it-yourselfers with the type of customers that are get it done for them, because each one works on a different time frame, right? The people that are getting it done for them might be in a hurry, whereas self-serve, man, you want to get in and you want to get out. It's perfect for that. So touch points, very important in your map and your analysis. You want to look at your pain points. On our goals, we want to reduce the checkout time and improve product visibility. We already talked about that on touch points, but now maybe on pain points, we're going to have to be aware of long lines. We're going to have to be aware of what happens when they're out of stock. And I see that a lot with stores now that are having supply chain issues. They are moving stuff around constantly to fill the gap so they don't look like they have massively empty shelves on aisle, 4 and aisle 7, for example. And you also want to make sure that your layout is not confusing. Your store should be very organized in that grocery is one area. If you carry clothing, it's in a separate area, partly because you don't want to be mixing food and clothes. You want to make sure your layout is smooth, that the aisles that need to have a lot of traffic are nice and wide. You don't want squeeze points, things like that. And then along with this, you have your journey points. So you had touch points, pain points, and now journey points. What's the shopping experience like? What's the customer engagement like? What is the overall satisfaction of the journey as people come in and go out of your store? It's something that a lot of people don't quite give thought to, but when you're dealing with a lot of people coming in, even on a very small store, I know that a lot of the corner markets and stuff are very tight aisles. There's not a lot of room. And what happens is people get into a hurry and they go run in there to grab something. And then, they're tripping over things if things aren't exactly where they should be. The overall satisfaction can be reduced simply because the shopping experience is one of haste rather than one of relaxation. So your journey points, your pain points, and your touch points all work together to match those goals. And if they don't, you want to have some idea of what you want your customer engagement to look like. You have to have an idea, just like we talked about with Walmart, knowing how customer flow is. What's the overall satisfaction, right? One of my biggest complaints, we have local Meijer stores here, and they're huge. I mean, they're very, very large, gargantuan stores. So if you want firewood, you got to go into the back corner of the store, way, way away from either of the front doors. But then when you want to get the meat to use the fire pit, firewood, charcoal, or whatever, you got to walk entirely to the other end of the store. Got to walk all the way there, all the way down the main aisle and all the way back up to get to the meat section. That's they didn't think about it from that point of view, clearly, but that's okay. I mean, that's the way that they want to run their store. Maybe they know something more about it than I do, but I'm just saying as a customer, my customer engagement and my shopping experience when I'm doing something like going and having a barbecue is, it could be better, right? On phase 3, this is where we start developing a solution. This is where we start the brainstorming process. Now we've collected a lot of information. We've gone through and analyzed what we have and what we know and what we think. We're going to have to kind of develop something of a hypothesis at this point. We want, in the case of this grocery store, we want to make sure that our self-check kiosks are efficient, that we have enough people to man them so that in an area like you have to check your alcohol, some states you can't do that. But like here in Indiana, it's not a problem. As part of your self-check kiosk, you also want to make sure that you can measure your shrinkage, right? Shrinkage is a fancy term that actually kind of means loss, either through theft, through damage, through something being spoiled just because it sat too long or sat somewhere. We want to make sure we're brainstorming navigation and wayfinding. We want to put proper signage to really explain at a high level what is going on. We want to make sure the aisles are clear, what is on them. If we move stuff, we need to remember to move the signage on the aisle indicators, right, for the wayfinders. These days, one of the main things that's also being utilized is interactive displays. Now, they're expensive. I have a store that I visited in Las Vegas, which was an alcohol store that had interactive signage. There were no bottles on the shelf. They handled the bottles in the back. And basically, you went along with a number. You got a number when you came in the door after they checked your ID. You got that number, and you would go with that card up to whatever you want and put the card under there, and just it'll prompt how many of these do you want. I want 1 or 2. And, you could see the sign, a picture of the item. You can get information on it and, get reviews from different places. It was great for that because it meant that for the most part, you didn't need a lot of people on the service floor to be able to address things and questions and handle things. You could move people quickly through the store. So these interactive displays give us the capability as a business owner, in the case of this imaginary grocery store, to be able to move things around, and the display simply needs to be powered, and it's pretty simple. Another part of the solution development is we were going to want to prioritize solutions. Ideally, we do them by feasibility. Is it cost effective? Is there a positive impact? And then we get into the likelihood of things like cost controls, the goals. Do they match the goals? Do they meet the goals? Does that solution help those goals in the way they do things? The satisfaction index of the customer. Are they satisfied with what we are talking about here? And this is where you use anonymous surveys and things like this. And in a store, one of the areas that you have to control is the return rate. When people are bringing things back because they weren't the right one, they were put in the wrong place with the wrong price. Just a lot of issues. One of the biggest issues that I see on a return rate for some of the stores that I go into is people are generally returning clothing. They're returning sleeping goods, things like this, baskets. It's a huge college town. So it's not uncommon for somebody to come in at the beginning of the semester, realize after they've bought something they don't really need it, and then take it back. It's very common, and it usually happens, August, January, right? Semester breaks. And that return rate impacts your customer service along the way. Finally, after we've developed a solution, now we want to implement it and monitor it. It's 2 parts, okay? Implementing, we need to train our staff. We need to make our people aware of what is going on. You can't just have a product show up and nobody knows anything about it. You want to be able to monitor and make it consistent. You need not just the results, but any staff successes, how people have been able to sell it uniquely, right? Or they get a chance to talk about something in a particular way and that gets shared among the staff. That staff success, you're monitoring consistently. Finally, you get in the last 3 parts, iterate for completeness and updates. We want to, when possible, utilize secret shoppers. That gives us our monitoring process and done in a way that is kind of testing all areas of the store. And finally, you want to test new strategies. Let's face it, as you're going through and you're doing this whole process, you're mapping out your customer journey, there's got to be room for new things. Customers want new things. New things hit the market all the time. And so we want to be sure that when we're designing our customer journey mapping, we're kind of creating a loop back to the very beginning again. We're going to want to do our prep research, our map and analysis, and our solution development around that, creating a cycle, a flywheel, if you will. We'll be talking about that another time. I discussed it a few weeks ago, is, the difference between a sales funnel and a sales flywheel. Well, this is the operational flywheel. Every type of the business has those. And so we want to be able, when we can, to introduce those as we go. Those are the parts of designing your customer journey map. You've kind of seen how we've done that with a grocery store, imaginary one. I've given some examples of, some of the stores that I've seen, and we'll get a chance to take a step back and look at our business when we look at it through the eyes of our customer or our client. The client satisfaction, the customer satisfaction is heavily dependent upon execution. If we didn't get it right, we'll know quickly, because either people will complain or people will stop coming. I mean, it's happened. One of the things that was a master was Walt Disney when he was developing Disneyland and later on Disney World, is that there has to be something to buy every so many feet. And these parks are huge. I mean, Disneyland itself is an all-day kind of thing. I've been to it many times. I've never been to Disney World, which is much larger. But you get a chance to look at things, and you look at these theme parks. They're the same kind of a thing as a grocery store. Where things are located, how they're put in play, all that matters. And it has to be visible. You can't just walk up and go, I just want to go on this ride. Well, in order to do that, you've got to go through all these other areas of the park with their own sets of rides and their own attractions and their own pieces. And the idea is to keep people interactive through the process of being where they are. And when they have questions, there's somebody nearby to be able to answer those. And that's one of the things that the Meijer here locally does very well, is they do stocking around the clock. Now, that puts people on the floor, answer questions. Yeah, they get the stocking and they keep things full and they keep things clean that way. But at the same time, now you are able to take people and move them to other areas and, help customers find things. So that's it for today. We went through our books on Selling You by Napoleon Hill, The New Model of Selling by Jerry Acuff and Jeremy Miner. Also dealing with Alex Hormozy and his books. Got our quote from George Burns. And we went through our business strategy of customer journey mapping. We looked at an imaginary grocery store and how we might build a customer journey map. Now, next week, I'm going to do the same kind of thing for a law firm, small law firm, and it's going to be relevant to my target market, which is nice because I don't always have the ability to walk into a law firm and figure it out. I get a chance to work with my clients often enough that I can get the feedback I need, because you can't just walk into a law firm and just go, hi, I need a tour. Well, they're not going to do that. It's not worth their time. But we're going to break that down next week, and then we're moving into a brand new topic. I'll be talking about that next week for you. In the meantime, for the budding entrepreneur, this is Randy Bridges wishing you the best in your health, your wealth, your business, your family, everything about you. Take care. We'll see you back next week.